Morning, folks. Welcome to the Philosophy for Philistines channel on this January 28th. We're getting set up for Canada Strong and Free's big debate this afternoon. So I want to encourage all of you to register, Pushing Back the Great Reset, featuring Rex Murphy, Anthony Furey, Christine Van Gain, and Peter Foster. I'll post links in this video. You can go on Facebook and search it, and I'll put those links in as well. But it is a vitally important discussion. As Prime Minister Justin Trudeau told a UN conference in 2020, the pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to reimagine economic systems. World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab writes in his book COVID-19, The Great Reset, that the pandemic opens possibilities for change, and the resulting new order are now unlimited and only bound by our imagination. Unfortunately, it takes little imagination to grasp the unprecedented social controls, restriction on freedoms, technocratic rule, and government takeover of all economic levels and levers that are being proposed. So join this discussion at 2 p.m. Eastern as this Canada Strong and Free convenes this panel to discuss how to push back, how we can all push back. Cancel culture is out of hand. The left has this constant vision of marching forward. And I suppose because I teach total quality, I understand something very fundamental about progress, particularly when it comes to process improvement. All progress is evolutionary, never revolutionary. And it has to be based on sound scientific principles. March forward and let's get out and go may seem good to those that are completely disenchanted with what already exists. And the conservative message, I suppose, and the classical liberal message perhaps is less appealing to those who believe in marching forward, because the conservative attitude is, hold on a minute. How do you know we're marching in the right direction? I mean, shouldn't we improve what we have and look for ways that it hasn't achieved its goals and correct them? And be cautious about making radical changes to society? In as many times as the radical left has ignored these warnings, there has been an equal number of societies undone by such radical thought. And even in the countries that are on the march toward a complete socialist takeover, socialism in those countries has taken on the flavor of the fascism of the 1930s and 40s. Big business is in bed with big government, and the state, in conjunction with industry, control everything. And this is exactly what we're seeing today. Big tech is silencing people daily. I've been fortunate, because I'm cautious about what I say, and what I do say can be proven factually, that I'm not very often censored or punished or go to Facebook jail or whatever, because I'm careful to speak the truth. One of the problems with the radical left is that they don't value truth at all. They only value power. But I suppose if I have a warning for those who might share my classical liberal belief in limited constitutional government and free market, individual economic liberty, and for conservatives that want to see their social values protected, that using silly rhetoric and having a poor vision of how to progress incrementally isn't serving the cause. I read the most hyperbolic bombast equal to that employed by the left from alt-right nutters. And I warn you, the only kraken that's going to get released is if we choose voluntarily to work together to help create a vision that we can sell to everybody. Right now, America has returned to an 1861 moment. The state of Texas is talking about a Texit, where it wants to get out of the Union. There is such a great gulf being created in society deliberately right now because of this march to undermine limited constitutional principles of law and governance. The left can no longer hear what the right is saying, and I warn you, when it becomes impossible to have a dialogue, there's only one thing that remains when dialogue fails, and that's war. I cannot force my views on you, and because I'm a classical liberal, I do not wish to. You're fully entitled to believe the most ridiculous things you choose to believe. I will engage you with debate. I will argue with you based on ethics and epistemology, but never would I wish to force you to believe something you don't wish to believe. And I suppose that's my concern about the alt-right. They want to use the force of the state to force their opinions on others. And they have no idea how to debate. I do. And unlike some very famous people we know, that this situation with Dr. Peterson and his anxiety disorder and his addiction to prescription medicine, while he was under the care of a physician and doing only as the physician had advised that he do, nevertheless, he became addicted to tranquilizers and had a heck of a time recovering from that addiction, from the medical side effects of not taking these prescriptions anymore. Because Peterson obviously cares a great deal about what people think about him. So here's my point for today, and then we'll meet after this wonderful debate that will take place this afternoon about pushing back against the Great Reset. I do not give a flying fig what anyone thinks about me. And in fact, when I've done my best to reason using ethics and epistemology, and people come at me with such rhetorical devices as your mother sews socks that smell, and your mother is a hamster and your father smells of elderberries or whatever, I love it. I enjoy the contempt of people I have lost respect for. But I am still aware at the end of the day that in order to gain the sort of momentum that we need to have rational, calm, quiet, circumspect discussions. And if you are unable to reach people from the other side of the aisle, you don't know how to debate. You don't have the mental acuity God gave to a small, damp, soiled soap dish. That's why you rage instead, because you're trying to force your will upon them. I don't want to force my will on anybody. If you don't like what I have to say, don't pay any attention to me. I invite you. Don't listen to me. Find out for yourself. That's what debate is all about. That's what freedom of speech is all about. Believe me, you offend me just as much as I offend you. But I don't want to silence you. Because it's only in open discourse that we can learn how to think. It's only in exercising our right of freedom of discourse that we will finally come to some sort of equitable solution. If the left wants the government to do all these things, it wants the government to pay for everything, at least it should look at reducing waste, cost, and variation in the process of delivering the services that it claims it wants the government to do. But that's not what happens. Oh no. And I've seen it right on the inside. Right from the inside. My wife was ordered by Storting, the Norwegian parliament, to review the sale of military property at the end of the Cold War. She put a team of international experts together. The Brits, the Danes, environmentalists, lawyers, people that were experts in property management, went and spoke to all the outer communes where the military properties were located. Took me to Whitehall on my 60th birthday so she could talk to her British colleagues. When she compiled the report and handed it in, the department she'd been seconded to, one of her colleagues in that department looked at it and said, "Sector loyalty, dear. In other words, how dare you imply there's a cheaper, quicker, and faster and better way of doing things. Your only job was to tell the government we're doing things just nice." See, that's the problem. If you want these services, you have to make sure that they're meeting the needs that you wanted, that you defined, that they're doing it at cost, that they're improving their process over time, and that they're not wasting resources unnecessarily while they're doing it. I have yet to see this happen in a socialist society. In fact, I've yet to see it happen in any governmental organization because the very nature of government itself is wasteful. This is why I believe so strongly in private enterprise, because private businesses can only afford to run at a profit by doing these things. Nevertheless, I digress. We have to have a discussion. I invite you to join it. And if you don't want to talk anymore and you'd rather go to war, come after me. I'm fair game.